Hello everybody, welcome to second grade virtually. I am so happy you are with me today. I am going to be sharing a game today. This is a very basic game, but it's challenging for our second graders. This game can actually be used for upper grades as well, and I'll explain that in just a minute. So for this game, all you need is a deck of cards. And you don't have to take any cards out except for the jokers. I have removed all jokers from this deck. The way that we score these games are the number cards are going to be the value that's on there. Any of our face cards are going to count as 10, and our aces are going to be 1s. Okay, so when I present this game for the first time to my class, what I will usually do is present it in small groups to ensure that they're understanding what is going on. And I'm going to give you some ways that you can differentiate this game in just a little bit once we go through it, because there's a few ways that you can differentiate this game. So this game, again, I don't remember if I said it's called 10, 20, 30. And this is a great game for a bunch of different reasons. You can use this game to help reinforce basic addition facts. I also use this game as a strategy to look for our friend 10 and find where he's hiding in different numbers. So it's a good way to kind of teach that number sense, get students looking for landmark numbers. And if you remember, I said this was good for upper grades as well. You can use this when you're doing multiples to help students recognize multiples. So today we're going to play this looking for multiples of 10. And I will usually, when I first introduce it, I'll introduce it as a way to practice our fast facts and our addition facts. And then later we'll talk about finding friend 10, and then later we'll talk about looking for multiples. So you can stretch this game across the year and play it with different vocabulary terms and different objectives. Okay. So when we start this game, I'll usually start it with 3 columns and then work my way up to 5 columns. We're going to do 5 columns today. And I just want to make sure you can see all 5 of my columns. So what I'll do is I'll lay out 5 cards, and then we'll put 3 cards on top of those. Now you can either lay them out 1, 2, 3 like this, or you can go across the row and do 1, 2, 3. It's up to you how you do it. I tend to be not real strict with the rules. I always like going with the house rules where, you know, in your family how you have different rules to go along with board games. And I tend to go with house rules, so I might just kind of get a feeler of how our class is doing and which way we want to go with this. Or when we're playing this game, especially at the beginning, we might break up into teams and play together as a team until they kind of get the hang of how to do this. And I might let each team kind of decide how they want to lay out, but then they have to stick by those rules. Once they set the rules, they have to stick by them. So, and they're usually pretty good about that. Okay, so now we have our cards laid out, and I have my rest of my deck here. I'm going to put that aside for now. Now, what we want to do, the goal of this game is we want to look down our columns and find any column that has multiples of 10. So, we're looking for 10s, 20s, 30s. And again, depending on how you want to play this game, you can choose a different number in order to practice your facts or your multiples. But with my class, we usually stick with 10. That's an easy number for our second graders, and we can do a lot with it. So if I'm looking at these, and I'm trying to look at it really quickly to see if I see any groups of 10, and just off the top, I do not, and that's okay, because what we're going to do then, if they don't see any columns that have 10 in it, then we can start rearranging. Okay, so I know my 8 and my 10, that makes a friend 10, and I know I have 9. I need one more to make a 10 here. So I'm going to just go ahead and replace that. We're going to swap those cards out. And then I can clear these. These are going to go off to the side. Okay, and then I'm going to deal myself a new column. Okay, and if I'm looking back at that one column. Let's see what we can do here. Let's see, well, I know I have 10, 20, and I can make another 10 either with an ace or a 3. Let's go ahead and grab the 3 here since he's right next door. And I'm going to swap the 3 with the 9. And then I can clear that. Now, the way you can play this in teams, the first time we play this through, I usually have my teams, my partners work as a team together to try to clear all of the cards. The goal is to clear your whole cards and your extra deck that you have in your hand. And that's hard to do, but that's the goal, is to get it all cleared. Now, once we have played this through a couple times as teams, then what I'll usually say is, okay, you're going to play with a partner and you're going to take turns. Okay, so I might go this turn, and let's see what I can do here. I'm going to, no, I don't want to do that. Okay, here we go. I'm going to just swap this guy over here, and then I can clear that column. So these cards would become mine now if I'm playing with my team, and I'm going to deal out my new column, and then my partner's going to go. And we would play back and forth until we couldn't get any more. Whoever has the most cards at the end would be the winner. Okay. And that's really all this game is. Again, it's a very simple game. You can differentiate a lot. If your students are struggling with this concept, I would take some of these columns away and maybe start with 2 or 3 columns. And I've done that before in some of my smaller groups if they've struggled with this, because it can be a little overwhelming with all those cards to choose from. So to make it a little bit less overwhelming with cards, this does make it a little bit harder because there's less cards to choose from, but it's a little bit less to look at. So you can kind of differentiate like that. And again, you can switch it up a million different ways and look for different multiples. In our class, I like to stick with 10. I have a lot of other games that I'm going to be sharing, but I like to stick with friend 10 for this one and use it as a fact and a landmark number. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this game, 10, 20, 30. I do have directions on my Teacher Pay Teacher site, 2nd grade virtually. So check that out. But again, it's a very simple game. You don't need scorecards or anything, just a deck of cards. Enjoy. Happy mathing.